Hey everyone, welcome to the channel where we love to talk about movies. Welcome especially if you're new. If you enjoy talking about movies and staying up to speed on what's in theaters and what's worth checking out, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a review. Alright, with that we're going to get into today's review, which is for On the Come Up. I just got back from seeing it in theaters, and so we'll dive on in here. So this actually did get I believe it was released on Paramount Plus, so you can watch it at home. I didn't know that going into the film, and then it started off with Paramount Plus Original. But, I certainly don't mind a trip to the theater if it is one that I could watch at home as well. Perfectly good. But let's jump on in with the synopsis. So the story centers on 16-year-old Bree, who wants to be one of the greatest rappers of all time. Facing controversies and with an eviction notice staring down her family, Bree doesn't just want to make it, she has to make it. So we'll just talk to 5 different things that stood out to me in the movie, or that the movie made me think about, and then we'll wrap up with kind of my general thoughts and letter grade for the film. So the first point most of these are just going to be thoughts that I had on the film. It won't be so much of a technical critique, but we'll keep it spoiler free. And yeah, the first thing that I liked that the film made me think about was just the power that words have. And words are definitely made me very much think on the fact that we need freedom of speech because words have such power and we can't limit that from people. And that's a very good thing. But simultaneously, what the film kind of gets into on the flip side of that is words also have power when we maybe don't want them to or intend them to. So yes, they're very powerful when we need them, but you also have to be mindful of just saying things that you don't mean because words impact people and what we say impacts people. So I thought that was kind of an interesting reflection that the movie made. The second thing that I was thinking on as the film was going on was how much anger can drive people, and especially with how they express themselves, and how that if you can't express yourself, it can really just bottle up. But it's got to come out somehow, I think. And it was interesting seeing that. I think that fuels a lot of rap that's out there. I'm not huge on rap, so this may just be completely misinformed on my part, but that's certainly the impression that I have. And it was interesting seeing the film where they have these rap battles, and instead of it was interesting that it was all about kind of tearing down the other person, and it was compounding the anger that I think would just naturally be there. And so I thought it was really interesting that there's one point in the film that a character doesn't just tear down the other person, they actually just talk about themselves and their own experience. And it was just really good to see, and I think it made all the difference. People enjoy seeing a rap battle where you're just tearing down the other person, making fun of them, that sort of thing. But it was a lot more impactful to not do that and to just talk to your own experience. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that the film did. The third one as well, not going into specifics with it, but there's some, I would say, violence in the film, not gory violence, but it's always hard to watch when there's violence towards somebody, and regardless of who they are, I think it's hard to watch, but especially if it's somebody who absolutely doesn't deserve it in the least. I wouldn't not to say that anybody deserves it, but I can't think of how to necessarily put that better, but hopefully you know what I'm getting at. But I think it's violence against those who don't deserve it, and then it's violence that's fueled by unnecessary stereotyping, or just stereotyping. Any sort of stereotyping is unnecessary. So I think at this point, some people might react and be like, "Oh, we've seen this. Why do we need to keep seeing it?" But I think it's important to put in film and put in art because it's a real thing, and we can't just pretend it doesn't exist. So while it is hard to watch, I think it is good to have there, and it certainly grounds the film. The fourth point was that there's definitely a lot of trauma that the main character has experienced and is trying to kind of sort out. And I think the reflection that I had on that topic was that trauma can definitely hurt, And I think the temptation is to let it define you. And I mean, I say this as somebody, I wouldn't say I have much trauma in my life, but the so like, again, like who am I to talk? But the trauma that's there though, I think it's important to try to not let it define you. Well, I don't think you can help it. Like it naturally, like that's by definition what trauma does. But the important thing is to to strive to not let it handicap you. And I think I think it's not good to say don't let trauma define you, because I think it's like I don't know that anyone can ever get over trauma entirely. Like it's gonna be there, but the thing is you can't let it defeat you. But that's still a very hard task, as the movie kind of gets into. So I think that's just very interesting food for thought. And then the last thing that I thought was interesting that the movie kind of brought to light or focused on as far as themes was just the question of like self-identity and what like the choice of your actions define who you are. And it's like looks into what are you willing to do for money, like how much of you is being you and how much of you is being something that you're not for things just surviving and living on. Like if you're struggling to pay the rent, how much of that impacts what you do with your life, and how much does it limit the range of decisions that you make? Whereas if you didn't have that sort of obligation or that need as much of a gaping hole, what sort of person would you be? And I think it's really interesting kind of seeing the character kind of struggle through that and figure out, does that mean enough? Like, should she be making her own decisions as she is, or does it matter more to kind of sell out for money? And it's a struggle. That's not an easy decision. It's you can't. It's hard to. I think it's easier said than done, and certainly if you're not in that situation. But it's just some pretty heavy reflection that this movie prompted. But I liked it though, for that kind of getting into kind of wrapping things up. My letter grade for this was a B. I think it's a good film. It's one that I enjoyed seeing. It did remind me a little bit of like the show All American on the CW, as far as being kind of a teen drama and giving me insight into sort of life experiences that I've had like no exposure to. So it was definitely one that held my interest throughout. I don't know that it's one that you need to go see in theaters. I don't think the theater experience is demanded for this one. But if you're looking for something to watch, I enjoyed it. And it's, I don't know, not that you need my approval for a movie like this, but I'm just happy that movies like this exist again, because for my personal life, would have I don't have any sort of exposure to this sort of these sort of experiences. And it's, while I'm sure like the real life stories that this movie pulls from are significantly more real, and like this is still at the end of the day a film and probably doesn't project it exactly as it is in a lot of cases, it still gives me a glimpse into something that I otherwise wouldn't get to experience, and it helps me to at least hopefully start to understand about other types of people, or just other people in general who come from different backgrounds. And I think that's just a good thing. So it's definitely I'm just thankful that we get movies like this. Not everything has to be a blockbuster and that sort of thing. So it's one, again, that I recommend checking out if you're looking for something to watch. But if you've had a chance to see it, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss a review. Alright, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.